And we welcome you back to Big Board Sports on this Monday morning as we react to Week 1 of the NFL and react to the Giants and their tough loss to Jacksonville on Sunday at MetLife. And who better to break it all down than Pat Leonard from the New York Daily News. And Pat joins us here this morning on Big Board Sports, Giants beat writer. Pat, let's start with the offense, which clearly revolves around Odell Beckham Jr. and Saquon Barkley on Sunday.
Yeah, good morning. Yeah, 40 of 60 offensive plays under Pat Shurmur in Week 1, either a target or a carry for Beckham and Barkley. At the very least, even though they only score 15 points, you have to be encouraged that he knows who his playmakers are and is getting the ball in their hands, right?
Pat, let's talk more about this offense because sometimes it isn't rocket science. Get it to your best players and see what happens. Still only 15 points, and that one touchdown was a 68-yard run by Barkley. So there are some concerns offensively, aren't there?
Exactly, and what's discouraging to me is that touchdown by Barkley was supposed to pair with an Odell Beckham touchdown or whatever else it is to then bump the Giants back over 20 points per game, 23 points, 24 points. You know, now that you have proven in Week 1 right off the bat, Saquon Barkley is a game breaker who can take the top off a defense in the NFL level like he did in college. Now you have him and OBJ. My biggest problem is that there were some throws here to make for Eli Manning to hit Odell Beckham on those touchdowns. It wasn't for lack of Beckham not being 100% or coming off the ankle. I really feel like even though obviously the offensive line is a major concern, but I still think there were throws there for Eli Manning to make, and he didn't make them. And so the offense ended up not helping the D in the second half, and you're left with Barkley's run just being a footnote and a loss rather than being the run that puts them over the top in a victory.
Yeah, Pat, there was one play that as you mentioned, the throws that Eli had, there was one where, and the Giants did a good job, I thought, of getting Beckham matched up against a safety, and namely Barry Church yesterday. There was one throw where Beckham was open in the end zone, and Eli just overshot him, and it didn't appear to be that difficult of a throw. What was Eli saying after yesterday's game about maybe his performance in particular or of the team overall?
Yeah, Eli did take responsibility for that throw. He made it seem like it was closer, I think, than it actually was. I mean, that ball was really close to being out of the back of the end zone. And Beckham did get his fingertip nearly on it, but that's because he's really good and really fast. It's not because it was a good throw. And Manning also said that he should have given Sterling Shepard more of a chance on the final fourth down where they went for it, and you know, Shepard ran kind of that whirly bird or reel route out to the outside, and the pass was underthrown. Eli took responsibility for that. You know, and there were some drop passes too, right? Shepard and Ingram each had a key drop, and there was a lot of pressure coming, especially from the right side of the line. Nate Solder had a tough second half. But I even, you know, I'm watching the playback again. Late in the first half, they were in the red zone, and the Jaguars brought an all-out blitz. And definitely there was a guy who came free, of course, from the right side, and the snap wasn't perfect. But I still think that Eli Manning, you know, he knows what the play is when the blitz is coming. He knows he has the whole left side of the field as Beckham is crossing with Jalen Ramsey trailing him, and he overshoots him over his head instead of giving him a chance out to the left. I'm not saying it's an easy play to make, but this is a two-time Super Bowl winning quarterback making $22 million against the cap this year. These are plays that your quarterback in that situation needs to make for you to win games. And Eli definitely took some responsibility for it. I just find it interesting. I think after these losses, you know, if he doesn't take as much of, he doesn't assume as much of the blame as far as the fan base is concerned as really maybe he deserves in these cases.
Check him out on Twitter at PLeonard, NYDN. Pat Leonard of the New York Daily News and SNY with us here on Big Board Sports 104.5 The Team, ESPN Radio. Pat, how about the other side of the ball here? First time we've seen James Betcher's defense at play in the regular season for the Giants. Janoris Jenkins at times looks like he's turning the thing back to 2 years ago when he was a Pro Bowler. What did you make of the defensive performance by the Giants yesterday?
Yeah, what I loved about the Giants' defense was, well, first of all, they did it without Olivier Vernon.
Yes,
and
right.
Obviously, it helped. Yeah, obviously, it helped that Leonard Fournette got hurt because Fournette was really difficult for them to handle early on. I mean, he's one of the better backs in the league. but they bounced back from a difficult start. Right away, Jenkins gets the team into the game with that interception on the second drive, where the offense had really been backed up right away because of Eric Flowers' penalties on the first drive. And so I really was encouraged to see so many plays coming from so many different people. I thought Dalvin Tomlinson had a pretty good game. He forced the penalty on Andrew Norwell that canceled out the touchdown throw from Bortles to Safari and Jenkins in the first half, and was creating pressure from the defensive line. I thought Lorenzo Carter and Connor Barwin, Kareem Martin as the edge rushers all made their presence felt at one point or another. Michael Thomas had a very good play on a blitz where he should have gotten the sack, but forced a punt. And the Giants' D forced 7 straight punts in the second half, including 3 3-and-outs, and no drive lasted more than 6 plays for the Jags there. So in my mind, they bounced back, they did their job, and that's kind of my takeaway from this game, is that the Giants were far from perfect, and again, we'll get to the offensive line and all that, but they really did have a chance to win this game. And, the defense's performance, especially in the second half, is a major reason why.
Pat, Eric Flowers continues, to stick out like a sore thumb. I thought he would be better, but he committed 2 penalties in a span of 3 plays on the opening drive. Do the Giants think, Pat, if they give the O-line more time, that they're going to get better?
Right. That's a good question, because so the question is, will this line get better with time? Because obviously they addressed it in the offseason. They paid attention to a lot of the line, but it could just be chemistry. You could throw that out there. But Flowers is Flowers. No matter how many games he plays with this group, he's still going to be the same player. He was just as bad on the right yesterday as he was on the left in previous years. I don't think, I think what's crazy about this situation is that Dave Gettleman went out and he got a new left tackle. He drafted a new left guard. He signed a new right guard, Patrick Omame, who struggled in week 1 just as he has in the preseason. Whether I agree with it or not, he installed John Jalapeno as a new center compared to Brett Jones of Western Richburg last year. But Eric Flowers was just moved over to the right side and handed the starting right tackle job. And everybody knows that he was the weakest point of the offensive line last year. Him or I guess Bobby Hart, you could say, the right tackle. But it's just unusual that they overturned so much of this roster and overhauled it really to win now, and that Flowers remains there on this right side. And you said it best, too. The 2 penalties in 3 plays right off the bat, the tripping and the hold. Like Eli Manning and Odell Beckham both said, Beckham said, we're playing a great defense. We don't have to help them out any more than they're already helping themselves. And Eli said, it's hard to start a game on the first drive at 3rd and forever. So they're not pointing directly at Flowers, but that's what they're talking about. They're talking about how their right tackle, before the game even started, backing them up and taking the ball out of their hands.
You read him in the Daily News. You'll watch Pat on SNY. Pat Leonard with us here on Big Board Sports, and we certainly appreciate that. Pat, it's only week 2 coming up, but it feels like a big spot Sunday night in Dallas. It's a divisional game, and both the Giants and the Cowboys are 0-1.
Very much so. And, on the defensive side, though there was a lot that I'm encouraged about, I wonder, because the Giants did struggle against Leonard Fournette here. So going up against the back like Ezekiel Elliott, will they struggle against that kind of power running game as well? Or have they made adjustments, and will they be able to handle it? But, of course, the main concern remains the offense and whether or not they can score points and whether Eli Manning can make the throws. It's encouraging that Barkley and Beckham are both game breakers. But can Manning make the throws? Can the running game, if Eli isn't that quarterback anymore, which it doesn't look like he is, didn't look like that last year, can the offensive line get enough of a consistent push in the run game where he doesn't even have to make those throws? So huge game, though, especially with the Giants' schedule upcoming after that against Houston and New Orleans and so many other top teams.
Great point there. Pat Leonard, man, we always appreciate you helping us out here to break down the Giants, especially after a game on a Monday morning on Big Board Sports on 104.5 The Team.
Thank you so much. Have a good morning.